Hello and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. It is a Burns Night special, hence the tartan.
Fantastic.
Joining me today, it's another Scot. It's Michael McCubbin. Well, original Scot.
Another tart as well.
And another original Scot, Chris Hamill. Celtic vibes, this Continental Club.
Yeah.
And
Rangers fan.
We'll move.
What?
Yeah.
You're a Rangers fan?
Yeah, of course. Why not?
Actually, I'd be Rangers over Celtic every time anyway.
What do you mean? Do you know who Rangers align themselves with in the Premier League? Chelsea. That's the sort of fan base they are.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Scum.
I do. I might have to reconsider. But our first topic of
contrarian.
conversation today, we're basically going to do one topic, couple of big match previews, and some personal questions. And the opening topic is about Thierry Henry. Because he has been suspended by Monaco, reportedly. Chris, do you want to kick us off with this one?
Yeah, Murd has hit the fan, hasn't it? Well and truly with Thierry Henry at Monaco. So it's to my understanding that yesterday I was listening to a podcast with respected French journalist Julien Laurent on, and he said in the morning the club had suspended him owing to, I think, some very unsavoury recent happenings. He was captured on camera insulting Kenny Lala in a match against Strasbourg when the centre half, is he?
I think he's right back. Yeah.
Or right back when the defender was sort of wasting time with the throw-in with Strasbourg 2-1 up, obviously. Henry desperate for points at this point. But it also had sort of half the first team training with the reserves. The club hierarchy didn't know about that. Absolutely dismayed when it happened. Of course, wanted unity in a time like this. And I think owing to maybe Henry's kind of ego and the underwhelming performances of the players, a very fractious relationship had occurred with sort of half the playing squad and Thierry Henry. But yes, following that statement where they said, no, we're going to stick by our man, we're just doing maybe a little bit of internal reshuffling, they actually came out and said it's likely that he's going to be released, and Leonardo Jardim is making a very unexpected return to the club. Of course, the man that led them to two third-place finishes in his first 2 seasons and then led them to their first domestic title in 17 years. In some style as well. I think he really captured the imagination of the footballing neutral. And he was subsequently let go at the start of this season owing to a run of bad form. But that, I don't think, and we can say that with some confidence now, that was all his fault. Expectations were a little bit high. They'd sold some sort of era-defining talent in Kylian
big
Mbappe.
players,
Falcao was on the downturn. Crazy how he sort of reinvented himself in that couple of years, given that he had such bad injuries. And now, Jardim is making a glorious return. It would seem they're 2 points from safety and play Dijon this week.
Okay.
This weekend, sorry. And maybe it was some comments in the press before this match against Dijon that really accelerated this decision, because he said, there's too many players that I plan to drop for me to tell you about now in this press conference.
Right.
And when you hear something like that, I guess,
like that,
at the sort of Stade Louis, if you're the powers that be there, I think you're thinking, this is going down the pan, isn't it? But his home form has been relatively poor. Only won 5 games, I think, in his 3 months in charge. Yeah. Win percentage of 20%, minus 21 goal difference. So nothing. There's no thread of hope in this whole Thierry Henry Monaco narrative. So I think it's probably going to be. I mean, who could have thought this would be a bad appointment ultimately? But I think it's going to be a blessing in disguise. Not in disguise, but I think they do well to get Jardim back, considering how it ended.
Definitely. You'd think him coming into quite a messy situation, his job would be sort of rebuild the confidence of the players. But it seems like for everything I've seen of him at Monaco, he's almost been at war with them. Which is not really what you need when you're in a relegation scrap. McCubbs, what have you made of this whole mess going on in the south of France?
I mean, to be fair, we have kind of been vindicated. We all thought it wasn't a great appointment to be originally. And it has, it's come back to bite. I think Henry was clearly just not at the right stage of his career to take on a job like this. Especially a job at a club which clearly he has a lot of emotional attachment to, and as good a footballer as Henry was, I think there's definitely a sense of arrogance in this whole fiasco, isn't there? the decision to take the job in the first place, and then the way that he clearly has treated the players as well. And to be fair to him, he came in when they were in the midst of a big injury crisis as well. So it was hard to judge him on the first month and a half performances where he really didn't have many players to choose from. But clearly things haven't gotten better since that Strasbourg game, where he, after he abused Kenny Lala when they were 2-1 down, they went on to lose 5-1. So there's just clearly performances are just so bad. And for a team that has talents like Yuri Tielemans in there, they cannot. Golovin as well.
Fabregas as well now.
This is not a club that should be 2 points off safety. They should easily be in the top half of League One. I think Jardim will keep them up easily. To be honest, I can't see a world where they go down under his tutelage. To be honest, like the players already know him. He's clearly a far better manager than Henry. I can imagine him just kind of coming to steady the ship and then leaving again at the end of the season. To be honest, but especially if an offer comes in, say from a Man United.
It's kind of a bit of a shame because I remember Fabregas' debut, I think it was against Marseille, and they drew
1-1.
And I remember watching the highlights and thinking, this Monaco team's not as bad as people are making out. Maybe this is them sort of turning a corner.
They were quite fortunate though, weren't they, in that game not to lose 2-1.
Definitely,
there
because
wasn't an awful lot wrong with
Tauvan's exactly got cancelled out from VAR.
Yeah.
But the curse of the Sky Sports pundits continue. I mean, now Gary Neville, now Thierry Henry, it's not gone so well when they've made the step over to management.
And in their defence, they sort of they took on unorthodox jobs. I mean, like you said, having an ego is part of football management, isn't it? Leading players, and players have all the power these days. You've got to be a big personality to command the dressing room, or sort of a master tactician, so on and so forth. But they weren't next steps into becoming a successful top flight elite manager, were they? They were big asks, and it would have been more of a surprise had they been a success there than a failure. So there is that sort of biting off more than you can chew, and I suppose not being able to say no is understandable. It's more so I'd square more criticism at the people that brought them in, after sacking the likes of Jardim and thinking that Thierry Henry, just hoping for an upturn based on bringing in a big name, based on bringing in a club legend, is such poor leadership, isn't it?
With nothing to base it on.
Owner, chief exec, director level. And Jardim has, like you said, a litany of experience. This is a guy that started managing when he was 27, very successful in Lisbon with Sporting CP as well, sort of took them through, nurtured them through some turbulent times. And I think it's successful spell at Olympiacos as well, that left in acrimonious circumstances when his team were 10 points ahead. So it wasn't just his time, at Monaco that sort of defined him as a manager. He'd done the hard yards, worked his way through up through the Portuguese footballing pyramid. I think he started in the 3rd division. So, I mean, if he hasn't got enough experience to navigate them out of this situation, then there's not many other candidates out there. And I think he's really doing them a favour by returning.
Yeah, definitely.
Considering they thought, that Henry was better equipped to save them from a dire start to the season than he was. But this started getting our minds jogging in the office, didn't it, before we started filming this, in terms of not naming and shaming, but bringing up some other managers.
Disastrous reigns,
from
effectively.
our clubs, that had disastrous small stints at their respective clubs. And you've got a lot to pick from over at Sunderland.
Well, definitely. We've certainly had a lot of managers. I think since 2010, we've had 8 different managers. We haven't started the season with the same manager we finished since Steve Bruce, I don't believe, in something like 2010. Actually, I might have got that slightly wrong. I think Gus Poyet did that once as well. But we've been through so many, various different approaches. Ricky Bragia, Roy Keane, Dick Advocat, Steve Bruce, Gus Poyet, Paolo Di Canio. Does anyone remember that brief stage as well?
I do remember Paolo Di Canio. Wasn't that? Didn't he beat Newcastle 3-0?
He beat Newcastle 3-0 in his first game, went absolutely nuts, and then I think we then lost to West Brom towards the end of the year, and he kept on going over to the fans, going like this.
Yeah. Did he
and
come
then
in?
He got fired the next day.
Did he come in for a kneel, and then Sunderland finished? He saved them from relegation by finishing one place below. So, where Martin O'Neill had left Sunderland.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Martin O'Neill should never have been given the boot, really. But probably our worst reign was probably David Moyes. After 2 games at the start of the new season, he said that we'd be in a relegation battle, and that was just the wrong message to send to the players. We didn't have a great squad, but don't tell them that they're crap as well. And we subsequently played really poorly all year. He didn't seem to have the answers, and he then subsequently left after we were relegated. So not great from him at all. And then last year was an absolute shit show. But we're coming back through Jack Ross. But McCubbs, you have also had a difficult time with managers of recent times as well, except Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah, I mean,
the post-Fergie era.
Yeah, post-Fergie era is a difficult one. It's hard to compare kind of Man United's kind of travails with managers to a team like Sunderland, because it's just
100%,
the kind of difference in going from 1st to 7th is kind of different from going from kind of like Premier League to League One, for sure. But yeah, nevertheless, it has been a bit of a shocking period when compared to the Ferguson era. I think David Moyes as well actually kind of stands out, just because he was the first to kind of try and take the reins, and it was kind of like, when David
he put a few nails in the coffin early doors, didn't he, as well?
Yeah. I mean, one of the first things he said to the squad. I mean, I think he tried his best, and he tried his best to kind of impose himself on the squad. And I think one of the first things he said to the team was, "I'm going to make you run more," which is quite interesting, considering a team who just won the league by 11 points, and had also, I just read earlier, had actually come back in 2012-13. United had won 29 points from losing positions.
Wow.
Which
and he saw fitness as the
issue. Yeah. So and to be fair, I think United weren't running that as much as other teams. But I mean, that's not everything, obviously.
Did Canyon say exactly the same thing? It's like the war cry of the new manager that comes in, isn't it? It's such a lame excuse that the guys aren't fit enough.
Yeah, 100%.
And I don't know. The thing is with Moyes at United, I think like everyone, if you go back to 2013, everyone kind of like, especially kind of United fans and people like involved with the club, I feel like there was a kind of sense of kind of like, because it was Ferguson's choice, it was kind of like, okay, cool, we'll kind of pretend that this seems like the right thing. Yeah, this kind of seemed, okay, all right, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, I'm feeling okay about that. I never ever once was like, oh yeah, who I'd want to replace Fergie Moyes. Like it's just a total lie that he was supposedly the right man for the job in the first place. And yeah, kind of culminated in going to Bayern Munich for a crucial Champions League quarter-final, which would have potentially saved his United career, and making the team train on a public park. So that's that's just about says it all. I'd say that's the most calamitous. I mean, obviously Mourinho's been awful, but I
was just about to say, would you argue that the last few months of Mourinho were arguably more depressing than anything ever experienced in the post-Fergie era?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I think he left on worse terms than Louis van Gaal or Moyes.
Oh, definitely. Like, but he made Louis van Gaal seem like a saint. Yeah, I think
Van Gaal was just a bit strange.
The last bit he is, yeah. The last period of Mourinho was definitely the worst, because I'd almost become completely apathetic, whereas Moyes was genuinely painful to go through. Yeah. I think it's better to be going through pain than just not even be interested in what your manager or your club are doing anymore. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. But Hamill, I think you've probably got the most outrageous manager to talk about right now.
I have picked a pretty standout candidate for Leicester, but before I touch on him, there's obviously a couple of worthwhile mentions at Celtic as well. So Ronnie Dyler, I mean, he came in, won back-to-back league titles, to be fair to him, but it was really at a period where Celtic weren't challenged by anyone domestically. Rangers had to reform as a new club owing to financial mismanagement by Craig White, which is hilarious because, when he came to the club, the Daily Record actually ran with the headline, The White Knight, and he was supposed to be this guy that brought back the glory years of Rangers, but eventually ended up running them into the ground and subsequently had to sell off his castle. He had a castle to pay for personal debts. I think he might have avoided jail time. Not so sure. The tax man was not a friend of his. But Ronnie Dyler kind of embodied Celtic's lack of oomph during that whole period. So really didn't go for it. Coasted. Player recruitment was really uninspired. Brought in the likes of Carlton Cole, Rasmussen, who you boys
That big
won't
name,
know
yeah.
about, Burgett on loan from Cardiff.
Berg who?
Yeah, exactly. We went through so many toilet players that it really just resulted in us stagnating as a club, despite picking up a few trophies along the way. And obviously Neil Lennon, prior to that, had sort of brought back the thunder, in his own words, following another disastrous appointment, which was Tony Mowbray, who admitted in a press conference that he didn't enjoy managing Celtic, which is never a good tact when there's people out there working for minimum wage and doing 15-hour shifts. This is a guy who's making out that life as a football manager at Celtic was absolutely harrowing, just because he couldn't deal with the demands, basically, and his brand of football was also rubbish. But yeah, Martin Allen at Leicester, what a period that was. Martin Allen, aka the Mad Dog, who announced in one of his early press conferences that you've all heard of FIFA, but you've not heard of FIFO, which is my philosophy: fit in or f*** off. And it was funny that he subsequently f***ed off from Leicester after 4 games with a win percentage of 50% actually. So not a bad stint there. But really just unusual character. Pretty prolific low down in the leagues with the likes of Barnet, I think, and he might be at Macclesfield now. But
I think he might have just got sacked by Chesterfield actually.
Oh, Chesterfield, sorry. Decent stint with Brentford as well, I think. So okay in sort of the lower echelons, but made a habit of sort of diving in rivers following victories.
As you do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised Martin Allen doesn't have polio at this point, to be honest. But he was a really colourful character, and it's sort of sad to see him go when he left Leicester, just because it was so entertaining.
That's brilliant. Well, those are our talk around some disastrous spells of our clubs and others. What did you guys think? Have you guys got any disastrous spells that you want included? Let us know in the comments below. On to big match previews. Ooh. Right, we are doing our big match preview now, and it's taking place tonight at 9:45. Late kickoff between Marseille and Lille. McCubbin, massive game for Marseille.
Very, very big game for Marseille. Probably bigger for them than Lille, to be honest, because let's face it, PSG are running away with the title. Lille in second, but but it's still tight in that top half. Marseille, despite having had a very, very, very poor couple of months, are still only 6 points behind third place Lyon. Obviously, that's the Champions League place in Ligue 1. They sit in 7th. I think they were 9th a couple of weeks ago, so they are slowly recovering, perhaps. I haven't really watched them enough, to be honest, to be able to comment on that in terms of their actual kind of performances, whether they're getting better or kind of staying the same. They're just getting a bit more fortunate at the moment. But yeah, the last couple of months has been woeful. They've gone out of every competition, so their season is practically over, apart from trying to get that Champions League place. They obviously went out of the Europa League after conceding something like 16 goals in 6 games.
Pretty bleak.
Bottom of their group. Very, very bleak. And then they went out of the Coupe de la Ligue and the Coupe de France, in the same week, I believe. So, yeah, Rudy Garcia perhaps probably going through his worst
under a bit of pressure
as Marseille manager, and he's done well to stick there for so long. Their defence has just been not good enough this season. I think they've in all comps they're averaging 2 goals conceded per match, even though they're only conceding something like 10 shots per game, which I think is less than Napoli actually.
It's pretty similar to Barcelona. Yeah.
So I think they've been slightly unfortunate in terms of goals conceded, but then again, they're also overperforming a bit in expected goals as well. So I think structurally the team just hasn't worked this season. They're missing Anguissa, who's obviously having a torrid time at Fulham as well.
But he wishes he never left either.
Yeah, so I think it's not worked out very well for both parties. Obviously they brought in Strootman, who offers a lot of experience, but clearly hasn't fitted in so well either. I don't know, is Payet even creating the kind of as many chances as he was last season?
Not as many as last year.
Obviously, he was in ridiculous form last season. So kind of rare, kind of one of their few shining lights. Their recruitment in the summer in general wasn't fantastic. They brought in Kaleta Carr from Red Bull Salzburg for about 19 mil, and Nemanja Radonic from Belgrade for 12 million as well. And neither of them have really kicked on at all. I think they've averaged cumulatively less than 500 minutes between them. So it does seem like this might just be a dud season for Marseille.
And Adil Rami split with Pamela Anderson. It's all going wrong in the south of France.
Were they going out?
What? You didn't know this?
No.
Come on, mate. He loves the old
Adil
woman.
Rami,
Respect.
really? Well done. Fair play.
That's pretty.
Chris,
nuts.
what's the story with Lille? Because in contrast, it's been pretty rosy.
I mean, they're absolutely flying by virtue of the other big boys in Ligue 1 performing horribly. I mean, Lille are second in Ligue 1 this campaign, having only won 12 out of 21 games. Now, they're on track for their best season since 2010-11, when they actually won the league. So
The Hazard, yeah.
and Giroud
And Cabaye.
Gervinho, that's the big
Yeah,
one.
so they had a pretty
Joe
talented
Cole.
generation there, didn't they? Joe Cole, was he there when they won the league?
Was he not there?
I think he was.
I think that
Was he there the season
No,
before?
I think you might be there the season
okay.
before.
All right, never mind.
He laid the foundations for Joe Cole. And of course, telling Eden Hazard famously to move to Chelsea.
Looking forward to meeting Joe Cole next week, actually.
Yeah, on our transfer deadline day special. Make sure you come and check that out Thursday on Football Daily. But they recovered from a dodgy period recently, so have had to arrest a slight slump. I think it's from around November to December, when they won one of only 6 league games, drawing 3, losing the other 2. They actually won 3 of their subsequent 4 to recover, like I said. Second best defence, only conceded 21 in 21 games, and only Lyon, Strasbourg and PSG have scored more goals. Strasbourg, of course, knocking 5 past Thierry Henry's Monaco ultimately, which definitely always helps. Now, if the table was worked out on expected goals, which dictates, the quality of chances you create and concede, they'd be third. So their underlying numbers are pretty solid. To only go from second to third is pretty consistent. So they've really earned the right to be in the Champions League places at the moment. Weirdly behind Rennes. Rennes have
A
been...
freak result.
Mystic Meg. What's the French equivalent of Mystic Meg?
Mystic
Mystic
Megaton.
Meg.
I don't know why.
Have we had this
Megaton.
before?
Yeah.
I think we've had that before with Mystic Meglaton. Basically, Rennes should be second, and they're currently 9th, 9 points behind them. So, been really...
Isn't
no,
that a
10
start?
points behind them, sorry, in 9th. Really unfortunate at the moment. Someone who's not going through a bad patch is Nicolas Pepe. I mean, we talked about him at the start of the season after 4 or 5 games. Wondered whether his numbers would drop off, whether he'd be able to sustain this form as a goal scorer and a creator, and he has. 13 goals, 7 assists, 3.3 shots per 90.
So good.
Not bad at dribbling either, 2 per match. 1.9 key passes to boot as well. So he's a real force going forward in Ligue 1. And these numbers would fill you with more confidence than if you were seeing this maybe in the Eredivisie. And I think as a result, he might earn a move to sort of a middling table in a middling team in the Premier League, let's say.
Only 23 too.
Or a little bit maybe further afield, maybe Spain. But he has said he's up for moving in the summer, not in January. He said he's looking forward to a beautiful move. So I'm not sure if that translates.
Warms the heart.
Or he's just a poetic character. I'd like to think.
Yeah.
I'd like to think the second. He's been backed up ably by Jonathan Bamba. He's a 22-year-old left winger, and he's been racking up some decent numbers as well. I won't kind of go through them. He's maybe running a little bit more hot than Nicolas Pepe when you look at his underlying numbers. So Pepe really is the jewel in the crown. And if he is to leave, it would be a shame for Lille fans, because they won't be able to build on what has been a very promising season. And who's the manager again? Sorry, we stuck him out a second.
Christophe Galtier.
Galtier. So did he used to manage Saint Etienne?
He did.
So-
Led them to a couple of sort of 8th place finishes, I think.
So yeah, I'm sure they'll be keen to sort of tie him down. But I mean, what aspirations does a club like Lille have? I suppose it is kind of develop these players, sell them on at a big price, and sort of kind of feed off the dregs of a Marseille, of a Lyon, of a PSG.
Because they were sort of consistent, sort of 4th, 5th place finishers, like a good 3-4 years ago, and then had a couple of down years.
Some money's come into Lyon, Marseille.
Exactly.
PSG,
And Galtier will be delighted. Not only is his team stock on the rise, but his as well. And they've got a really, Bamba's only 22, Pepe's only 23. I think they flank a Portuguese guy called something like, I've got it here, Rafael Leo, who's only 19. So a really youthful young attack, and they're firing on all cylinders, and the only way is up. But in this game, Marseille actually have a great recent record in this tie. They've won 6 of their last 10 meetings, losing just 1 in the league between Marseille and Lille. So they've got a bit of a hold over them. So McCubs, if you had to predict Marseille at home, against Lille. What score prediction are you
On a
thinking?
Friday night,
Friday night, under the
Stade
lights.
Velodrome is, I can imagine, on a Friday night, a pretty intimidating place to go. And based on that head-to-head, although, you know, they're not everything, I think I can see a Marseille win. I reckon
Really?
say 2-1 Marseille.
Obviously,
Okay.
wasn't very intimidating on a Thursday night in the Europa League.
No.
was it?
No.
3 goals they conceded. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Nicolas Pepe and, you know, Taovan.
Okay.
Taovan probably deserves a move to a bigger club. He's sort of maybe Nicolas Pepe might be looking at Taovan's career trajectory and thinking, I might avoid the Premier League actually, because
Or at least a club like
just
Newcastle.
what, a bad 18 months at Newcastle has really kind of hindered his chances of securing one more big move, and he has been one of Liga's most consistent performers now for the last 2 years.
100%. Only 25 as well. I'm going to go for an absolute thriller. It's going to be 3-2 Lille. Let's move on to personal questions. Right, we're moving on to personal questions now. We thought we'd leave quickfire questions for this week and go straight into the personal ones because we really rated some of the ones that came in. Not least H_7 Isla, who says, if you could play in any era of football, what would it be and why? McCubs, what do you think? You're quite a 60s fan, maybe 70s. What do you think?
You've hit the nail on the head. I
Really?
think it's got to be the 60s and 70s.
The swinging 60s.
Yeah, I mean, when footballers first started to become rock stars, you know, like, imagine
You'd want to
playing
be able
it.
to booze, wouldn't you, mate?
Sorry?
You'd want to be able to booze guilt-free.
Yeah,
None of this
exactly.
Arsene Wenger broccoli
And
shit.
also you used to be able to like trip up players from behind and kind of get away with it as well, which would have been quite
Ala
fun.
you versus hashtag Jacko.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I was just harking back to that era, you know, when men were men. But to be fair, one of the iconic images of that era is Jack. Have you ever seen the picture of Jack Charlton having a cig on the Leeds training?
No, I haven't.
That's a fantastic
No,
picture.
but the ones of Johan Cruyff, you know, when he's smoking in the changing room. God,
That is
blimey.
great. I think that came up on something, and someone was like, "Oh, if footballers could, you know, be on album covers, this would be
Yeah.
fantastic." But yeah, I mean, yeah, not only the kind of culture of the time. Obviously, there was the good and the bad. Just some of the players that you could have come up against at that time, kind of George Best. If you were in World Cups, you would have been playing against the likes of Pele, obviously Cruyff as well. And the evolution of the game then was arguably the biggest evolution we've ever seen in football, apart from maybe the last 15 years, because I think it's underestimated how drastic it's been in the last 15 years. I think 60s and 70s would have been a fun time to be a footballer.
Yeah.
In England as well, English football was fantastic then.
Yeah, very detailed response. What are you thinking, Christopher?
I mean, a little bit further on down the line, English football got quite underwhelming, didn't it? Direct, physical brand of football.
Graham Taylor.
I mean, football is the best it's ever been right now. I mean, the athletes is just supremely fit. The quality across the board is just. I mean, I fail to see how it can be topped. I think Socrates, who's a Brazilian footballer who's passed away, actually suggested that football now, the athletes are so fit in comparison to his period that football should be 9-a-side now, which I found pretty hilarious.
That's crazy.
I'd
Same
quite like to
size
have played
pitches.
in the team with Socrates,
Yeah.
someone who had
That's such a nicer attitude than Pele being like, my era was the best, constantly.
someone that had a huge impact sort of off the pitch as well as on it. Of course, he kind of led a lot of protests against military juntas, and the club he was playing for at the time is in a similar way to, I suppose, Barcelona were kind of Franco, and being at the stadium was one of the few areas where people could really sort of embrace their own culture without fear of a reprimand. It was sort of the same with Socrates in Brazil. And every time I've sort of stumbled across him in Brazilian football books, I've always thought I'd love to have picked this guy's brain. A period I would like to have played in. I don't think my answer is going to be quite as eloquent as McCubbin's. I think that is a really good period. My playing style would have suited that period for sure. Just kicking lumps out of people. But But now for the money, it's from Liv. That's a good suggestion. Let's
move on. Myself, I don't know. Maybe pre-World War I when Sunderland were in its pomp.
Oh yeah.
In the age of innocence.
You look like you've been transported from pre-World War.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. Yeah.
And Newcastle were pretty decent then as well, I believe.
Yeah,
So
Newcastle
we
pretty
had
good.
some
The
good
North
battles.
East football was in its prime back then. And similar to Chris, my style of football wouldn't necessarily fit in with the silky 60s. So I'll go pre-World War I for me. Moving on to @Ahmed El Nouri. On a completely different note, he says favourite dessert as a child.
What are you two?
McCubbs, you kicked off last time. So Christopher, What were you tucking into as a young Hamill?
Oh, my Nana Ivy's apple, raspberry and blackcurrant crumble maybe. Apple and blackcurrant.
Nana, wow.
Maybe, yeah. She was an absolute Swiss Army knife with the desserts.
Really?
That was the creme de la creme. Or a lemon meringue. And that's never left me. I love a bit of lemon meringue.
Perfect. McCubs, what were you tucking into?
To be fair, my grandmother had a legendary apple cake as well, kind of similar kind of thing, which people were always after the recipe of, and actually
was she quite protective?
A few years ago, we managed to find. I think she did note it down for someone, and we printed it out in the kind of what do you call it? In the kind of book, we kind of printed it out for everyone and gave it a
nice
funeral, so everyone had it to recreate.
So her memory lives on.
Exactly. I don't know. I can't. Apart from that, I can't really think of what I really like to eat for pudding when I was a kid. I just really liked ice cream, I think.
Fair.
Rice pudding as well.
Yeah, man after my own
Out
heart.
of the can, like a sandwich.
I was always quite into jelly.
Really?
Did anyone else love jelly? I used to love it, and then you slip it off your spoon and you just go straight to the back of your throat.
You could just inhale it. Didn't even have to touch the sides, did it?
Yeah.
I can imagine your gullet
head
as
in the
well, just
tubs.
being like, bang, gone.
Yeah, that was me, Jelly Man. Last one is from Friend of Football Daily. It's from Has Kareem. Hello, Has. He says, you win £10 million. What's your first expenditure?
Wow.
Cubs, how creative are you going to go with this?
First expenditure. I was
10 million.
Genuinely no preparation.
I was actually speaking to a friend the other day about this, and he had some pretty wild suggestions about giving his friends money to do outrageous things in public and stuff. I wouldn't do that. I feel like that's kind of what Joe Tomlinson would do as well.
Yeah.
Now 10 million. I mean, obviously there's giving it to family, putting it into putting it towards nice causes and stuff. But that's all just the kind of standard stuff, isn't it? In terms of actual kind of flamboyance, I've always said that I don't, in terms of the possibility of having a lot of money, in the future or whatever. I'm not really that asked about having a big house or anything like that, or driving a nice car. But if there's one outrageous expenditure I could have, it would be a yacht. I would definitely.
Really?
The idea.
I was not expecting
that. Yeah, I would.
I'm not into my material,
having
material things, but a yacht.
Yeah, having a off yacht. Take her out.
Has it got an engine? Is it a sailor? Is it got a sail?
Well, I mean, it would be an engine, because I couldn't be asked to.
So Roman Abramovich style.
Yeah, Roman Abramovich kind of yacht. You can have your friends on there, have parties and whatnot. It would be. I mean, in the middle of the French Riviera or whatever, it would be pretty. It would be pretty fun. I think.
I love it. Fair, Chris.
How do you follow on from a coffee yacht? I quite like the idea of having properties around the globe.
That would be lovely.
Just so you can decamp to Sydney or New
York
or Tokyo.
Where are your three locations?
I'm only good. I like it.
You're thinking Barbados?
I like it when my decisions, my focus is narrowed. It's going to make it easier. I've always been intrigued by Tokyo. I've not been there yet, but desperate to get out there. So I'd gamble, get a penthouse suite in Tokyo.
Oh, lovely.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now
overlooking the city.
I want a beach house. I want a beach house somewhere, where you can just kick back, feel the sea breeze on your face, Doogie, and just, maybe just do a little bit of fishing, be a bit self-sustaining.
Lovely. Maybe
get away from the technology.
Southern Italy, maybe, I think, for you.
Southern Italy. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Maybe Sicily, because I'm, quite into the Godfather and organised crime. So big fan of that as well. So
check out a Cagliari game as well. When you're there.
Yeah, get down to Palermo, top of the second division in Italy at the moment. So now be a great period to ride that wave. And third, it's got to be in the Americas somewhere.
Nice.
So let's go.
Anywhere in that whole.
I just love New York, and from New York we can explore.
And who
Rio, we can explore it.
You know who your first visitor is going to be? It's going to be McCubbin on a coffee yacht.
Yeah, of course.
Cruising in.
Past the Statue of Liberty.
Welcoming you in.
Fantastic.
Yeah. What do I think? I'm similar to McCubbin. I'm not into cars whatsoever. I'd probably create a really good man cave. Just with screens and just all the right snacks and everything.
You could buy Sunderland right now.
Yeah, I could actually. Although I wouldn't want to take him off Stephen Donnell. He's done, a real upturn results. But yeah, I go man cave. So we've got yacht, houses, man cave.
What would be the key feature of a man cave? Would you have? You got neon signs. Would you have a pool table? Is it ice hockey?
I think
Is it
there'd be a
foosball?
five-a-side pitch.
A five-a-side pitch.
So this is like a kind
Now
of man
we're
warehouse.
talking.
Yeah. It's like double the
this is like
size of this
Batman.
room.
Okay.
Yeah. And I could just slide in and out on like a fireman pole or a slide.
Oh, sick.
Into a
great.
ball pit. There'd be a ball
Into
pit
a
as
ball
well.
pit. Nice.
And obviously quite a few TVs and good snacks. So
Good
yeah.
snacks.
So that's
What
the dream.
What has a good snack?
So actually, why don't we put this to a poll? Would you buy a yacht, get a lot of property, or the man cave? Vote in the poll above.
He has good snacks, man.
That's
true.
that's the winner, isn't
That
it?
is
really?
the winner. That is the winner. And we'll roll straight into the end board, lads. What is coming up this weekend that the guys should look out for, and guys and girls should look out for on Football Daily and Eurofootball Daily?
The 2% of our audience, they're female.
Yeah.
I like it. Let's not forget about them. Liv, getting a little woo behind the screen from Liv. So, female empowerment and all that.
Exactly.
Stat Wars, the League Season 2 has started.
Yes.
And it kicked off with James Wayne, who got promoted from the non-existent Championship division and took on Joseph Tomlinson, I believe. I'm playing Dave tomorrow. We still need to sort out forfeits and prizes for the victors and relegation fodder from last season. So send your suggestions in the comments below. Help us sort that out. What's going on FDFC, my Cubs?
FDFC Sevens is out. Squad goals. If you haven't checked that out yet, go and watch
Really
that.
good.
Very, very entertaining watch. I'm not sure what else is on FDFC. My mind's gone blank.
A couple of old
but-
non-league vlogs.
Non-league vlogs as well, of course. Salford recently, David Beckham's got it in the act. But I think that's Oliver on FDFC. Go and give it a subscribe if you haven't already, because even though I can't remember exactly what's going out this weekend, there's going to be lots more over the coming weeks and months. It really is
Hotting up.
FDFC
It's our
2019,
It's our
isn't it?
testing ground, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which means that, the content on there is diverse and interesting.
Definitely. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a great weekend. See you later.
Bye.